Why is legacy a part of that as you're thinking about, hey, women, you got to keep going. You got to keep serving the way that God's called you. Where does legacy fit into that?
Well, legacy is there's a bit of a misnomer, let's say, I think, surrounding
Okay.
that whole idea of leaving a legacy, because a legacy is something you pass on. But when we think of a legacy, we think that it's something that we build later in life. Like we can have this whole young adult life where we never have to even think about our life, because we're so busy. But
Yeah.
really, when Diane and I approach legacy, the idea is our everyday life is our legacy.
Hmm.
And we find that when women approach, and I'm sure it might be true for men as well, when women approach seasonal changes, marriage, children, empty nest, retirement, each one of those changes kind of causes us to do a little bit of a pivot that we weren't expecting. And now we wonder, well, how do I do that? And what Diane and I are really trying to help women of all ages understand is that if you build that life in your everyday life, which we should be doing, we should be living a legacy life. Then
Mm.
that life is self-perpetuating. It passes
Yeah.
itself on. I mean, if you look at Psalm 78, I think it is, I'm pretty sure that's the Psalm where David talks about the command for us to tell our stories and pass on to our children. And
Yes.
and then he goes on and talks about other things that happened before him, way before in history, about how when these people failed to tell their stories or failed to do what God asked them to do, then they had a problem with passing on a life. So the idea is
Mm.
legacy becomes something that we live, not something that that's an add-on to our life that our kids are going to get or whatever. Because we talk about influencing people in our everyday life, it's a horizontal thing for Diane and I too. It's like, the drive-through crew at McDonald's is a legacy, is benefiting from your legacy. If you go through there every day, you learn their names, you talk to them, pretty soon they know you and they're watching you,
Yeah.
and you're adding value to their life by saying, I see you, you're important, you're valued. That deep
Mm.
emotional connection that we make, and right there, and I try and do this at the grocery store and at Staples, wherever I go, when people feel valued or feel seen, something sparks an emotional connection on in them that knows that that's possible, and they start looking. And we're just
Absolutely.
trying to help women understand that you don't have to go outside your everyday life to build a fantastic legacy. And also sometimes the traditional legacy definitions are really children and grandchildren oriented. So in this
Yeah.
day and age, we have so many single women. Some of them not single by choice, but some of them single by station. And
Hmm.
and that whole idea of legacy is like they're throwing up their arms, going, "Well, that doesn't apply to me," but it does. And
Hmm.
so we need to find a way to communicate this idea of legacy as being a lifestyle first, a
Mm.
foundation that we build, and then God brings the people into our life. And then
Mm.
we influence them, and that's how we pass the baton. So
Mm.
that's kind of the long-winded way around
No,
describing that. But that's what it looks like to us.